I actually come from England. Well, when I left school, I went to Switzerland and I was studying art in Switzerland. And then when I came back, maybe I was about 19, 20, I got involved with an organization called Mind Dynamics. And at first I was just helping them, and I have a stepbrother and he had done the course, so he thought it would be good for me to do the course. So I did the course and I really liked what they were doing, and this was my first real introduction to meditation. Now, before this, when I was an art student, I didn't know much about meditation, but I would sit for hours, especially at night, looking at the moon and just listening to beautiful music, and so it really in its way was a meditation. So this Mind Dynamics was very commercial, but it was an introduction for me. And it was then that I became a vegetarian and changed my life. So one thing led to another, and then I got an opportunity in the early 70s I met the man who became my husband, and he was living in Thailand, actually. He came with the Peace Corps, and then he stayed on. So it was my opportunity to go to the East. So I came out to Thailand, and I have to say, I had two very strong feelings when I came to Thailand. The first was I felt I was in a kind of heaven because people were so kind and so genuine and smiling. But the thing that disappointed me was I thought that everybody would be vegetarian because being a Buddhist country. Anyway, I was here for a while and I lived in Laos, and then it was time to move on, and we were in Singapore, and I knew that I had to go to India, and that was really the beginning. Now all this time I was practicing my own kind of meditation. I was practicing really just being quiet, trying to center myself and things like that. Then when we went to India, I got involved with an organization in Bodh Gaya. It was a Buddhist organization where they teach Vipassana. And I did 2 Vipassana courses, which is like 10 days of all-day meditation. And it was quite a shock at first, because it's very difficult to quieten the mind that quickly and that long. But it was a very good practice. And that was really the start. And then I went on and I met Sathya Sai Baba actually, and then started getting involved in education. Okay, my background hadn't been education, but I did live in America for 4 years and I taught in a Montessori school. But then I became very involved with education in human values, and I felt that this was what the world needed. Now all the time I was doing my own practice, but I think that the most important thing is not just the practice, it's the way of life. And meditation is actually a way of life. It's not just sitting for 20 minutes or half an hour a day. It's being centered, being clear of what you're doing. And I can't say I am all the time, but it's something that I try and practice. So that was really the beginning. And then my husband was American, so we were living in America for 4 years. And then I got a chance to come back here in 1980. He got a job with the UN, and that was how I came back here. A couple of years later, I met Dr. Jumsai, Dr. Adong Jumsai, and we started working together. Yeah. We feel in the school that meditation is one of the most important parts. Yes, we start every morning with meditation in the prayer room, But every lesson we start with just a short meditation. Like when I do with the little ones, I actually go through the meditation with them. But with the older ones, mostly we just ask them to sit quietly and just to gather their thoughts, become calm, because it's very difficult for children today with studying. You know, you've got so much information, and maybe you're studying maths and then science and then English and then Thai. So the mind is all cluttered up. So if you can just still it for a few minutes, even 2 or 3 minutes, it's like wiping the board. When the teacher comes into the classroom, she wipes the board, right? It's the same kind of concept. And it's very interesting. We did a survey in the school with the children and what they thought was the trigger that helped them to transform. And with the little children, mostly they said it was the teachers, yeah. But with the older children, it was very interesting. They said it was their ability to meditate and to calm the mind. And sometimes when you're in the prayer room, it doesn't look as if they're meditating, but something is happening, yeah. So I think you get to a stage where everything you do, you try and make as much as possible a meditation. It's not all the time, that's for sure. But in a place like this, that we're surrounded by nature, that's a very good start. But at the same time, we're very, very busy here. We have a very tight schedule. We have a lot of work, a lot of visitors, a lot of things happening all the time. So it's not always possible to spend long periods meditating like I used to. It is more in the morning when I get up to try and center myself, and if I have time to sit for a while, we do it again in the prayer room with the children. We sit. I sometimes follow, I sometimes lead it, I sometimes just go into my own quiet and just try and stop all thoughts. But the actual practice of meditation is very important. And I think the training that the Buddhist training of concentrating on the breath, the anapana, and then the vipassana, I think it's a wonderful training. I think it's a very hard training. I don't think it's easy, but I think it's a wonderful training. And from that, I think it's also wonderful to have, especially for children, and the light and the concept of light, because light is taking away all darkness. And so if we bring the light into our thoughts, into our bodies, into everything, we're getting rid of negativity. I think that we're living in a very different time now. We're living in a time that in a way seems very attractive, and there's lots of things to distract us and a lot of things to play with and do, but we have to get in touch with ourselves inside. And I think many people are not feeling very happy inside. And it's like the analogy of somebody who works very hard to buy a new car, for instance. And they work day and night to get the money. They buy the car. For a few weeks, they're very happy. They're going around. They're showing everybody the new car. And then the novelty wears off. And you want something else. And then maybe you want, I don't know, something else, a wonderful computer or something. And it just goes on and on and on. But if we start getting in touch with ourselves, we'll realize that we're not at peace. And what I've noticed with a lot of young people, and I travel a lot, so I meet a lot of people all over the world, that a lot of young people find it very hard to be alone. And if they are alone, they have to play music, even sleep with music, because they're afraid to be alone. And I think that is something that meditation can help so much with. If you start finding that peace inside, you don't need to rely on something outside. And I know it may be not hip, it's maybe not cool. It's more cool to have a super phone and play games and things like that. But I think it's very cool to feel at peace and to feel sustained within yourself. I think this is the problem today, we don't feel like that. So I would encourage, however difficult it is, and it is difficult, I won't say it's easy, meditation is difficult. And it's not fun. At the beginning it's not fun at all because the mind is racing here and there and you're trying to keep your body still, but it's worth it. But of course the practice is important. Especially in the beginning, you have to go through a lot of practice because you're not just meditating with your mind, you're meditating with your body. It's the whole thing. So if the body is restless and uncomfortable, it's very hard for the mind to be comfortable. But that's part of the process, you have to go through that. And I think that the goal, well, I don't know what the ultimate goal is, but the goal as far as I'm concerned is to be in a state of a loving state more than anything else, to try not to have judgmental thoughts, to be as calm as I can, and to take each day as it comes. And I think in itself that is a meditation, you know. The actual, as I said, the actual sitting of the meditation is part of the process, but it is not the goal. The goal is to be in a state of meditation. And it's something that we call values. We concentrate here at school on 5 values, which are the values of love, truth, peace, right conduct, and non-violence. And we try and have everything orientating around this. So even when we're teaching secular subjects, we try and bring in examples of values, giving examples to the children. Yeah. I think there are 2 things we see here with the modern society. One, when we say alone, yes, children are very isolated today because they're just in front of their computer screen or their telephone screen, and maybe they're playing with somebody a long way away, you know, but they're playing games, but they're alone. And very often they have their social media, they contact people, they put everything on, but they're not actually having that social contact. So there's that way, that in a way they are alone. But they don't know how to be alone. Because although they're alone, in as much as there's nobody else around, they're not alone. They've got their computers, they've got everything, and they don't know how to be quiet. And they're terrified of it. We have these terrible images. Well, I think they're terrible because they're unreal. You know, these superstars and so all these young people are modeling themselves on this, and they can't be like this. You know, they're not this. So they feel they've failed. And we're just pumping information into our children. We're giving them too much information. We are not giving them time to digest. They go from school to tuition to tutors, and they don't have a childhood. That's one thing that I'm so grateful to my parents, is that I had an enchanted childhood, you know, and I think this is something that's very sad today, is that children don't have this. And because of this, there's so much tension inside. So I think this is the fear. And people are afraid. They're really afraid to go inside and find themselves. But this is where meditation will help. Because, you know, slowly as you get used to calming yourself down, yes, all these crazy thoughts will come, but just try and step away from them and realize that they are not us. This is the important thing. I think we tend to identify and say, well, you know, I'm this thought or I'm that thought, and we're not. You know, we just need to step away from that and become centered and quiet. And I think that I'm not saying that people should give up what they're doing and they shouldn't go to these schools or do. I'm not saying that at all. I'm just saying find some space for yourself. And this is where meditation will help you. It will help you overcome fears. So many young children today have phobias. They're afraid of this, they're afraid of that. But their main fear is the fear of silence and being alone with themselves. So I would recommend very simple forms of meditation to start with, just calming the mind. And this is what we do here at school. I do it's a very simple exercise. You don't need expensive materials, you just need a candle or a bowl of water. But it's a very, very deep exercise where especially with older children, it can become very, very interesting, where they look at the light and they start comparing it with themselves and they start seeing all kind of analogies. The important part is after the actual passing, where you ask questions and you just let them talk about it. And I'm very proud of these children because they've only been with me since the beginning of this term. I've only just started teaching this grade, and I teach quite differently, I think, from other teachers. So I think I'm very proud how they are opening up and being able to answer. But the main thing is you can use anything. Sometimes I use a stick or a stone, anything, just to get them to start thinking, start comparing. You know, what does this stone mean to me? How can I compare that with myself, you know? And the main thing is they start looking within themselves, and I think that's the most important thing. And I was very happy how a lot of them were comparing themselves and saying, well, you know, especially when we did the crystals, and that they could see, you know, that the one that's more cloudy, that's how maybe we are inside, but that the clear one is our real nature, and that's what we want to bring out, and things like that. Yeah. So you can actually use anything, and I think this is the beauty of being in a place like this. I mean, the children know how to plant rice, they know how to grow things, they know how to make things, they know how to survive, and I think this is something that's very serious problem in our world today. It's children don't know how to survive. And if anything happened to technology and everything stopped, they wouldn't know what to do. So I think we need to use very basic things and to teach very basic things. And I find that life is the greatest teacher. That you think that you have overcome something, and then something will come up that will just prick that Achilles heel, and you realize I have not overcome that. And it's something I have to work on. And I think that's what we have to do. We have to keep working. I know people who do sit for hours in meditation, but they're not necessarily like that all the time. And I think for me the most important thing is to be a loving, kind person who is trying to do something to make this world a little bit of a better place. So it's not, you know, practicing for hours every day, but at the same time finding that quietness within, and that comes through practice. It comes, and I'm very glad I went through very rigorous training with Goenkaji and other teachers, because it's helped me have that ability to calm down more easily and to find that space. But as I said, the real meditation is in everything we do. It's every step we take. It's every word we speak. It's